Today I'm breaking down a townhouse in Paris that I absolutely love. It's in the 11th arrondissement of Paris, which is lively and dense, but they've got 350 square meters or 3,800 square feet spread across 3 distinct levels. And specifically, they've made a lot of really good decisions with this place that I want to point out to you, because I'm here to make sure that when you buy, sell, or remodel your own home, you make the decisions that make you the most money. The link is in the description for that, but for now, let's take a look at this home. So let's start in the living room here, and the first thing you notice in the living room is how calm it is. I mean, look at this space. It's all natural tones and materials. They've got hardwood floors, wood paneling on one wall, this cream lime wash on the ceiling and the other walls, and just a really inviting space to spend time in. And it's getting plenty of natural light here through the floor to ceiling glass. So you've got this really nice orchestra of shadows coming through the glass here, from filtering through the trees outside. They're coming through this bird of paradise plant in the corner, which is gorgeous, by the way. They're coming through the sheer white curtains that are just softening and filtering the light. And the light even interacts a little bit with the sofas and the other furniture in here to create this moody, deep space that feels really nice to be in. And because the ceilings are high and the sofas are so low, the volume of space in here feels even larger than it actually is. But they've done a lot of other things right in here as well. I love the rug that they've chosen in here in this deep gray that just grounds the room and creates this conversation zone around the 2 sofas. And importantly, the rug is the right size, because you see all the time, especially in a situation like this where you've got 2 sofas facing each other with a coffee table in the middle, a lot of people choose a rug that's too small for the space and might only sit underneath the coffee table itself, which makes the sofas feel like they're floating and doesn't create a defined use for the room. But by having the rug here, you capture both sofas and the coffee table in the middle, and it's the right size for the room. But maybe the star of the room here is this fireplace. It's really sleek and subtle. It's not taking up the entire wall, and actually leaves enough space above it if you want to put a piece of art or a TV. I'm really glad that they did not put a TV in here, because it would just really ruin the calm energy in this room. But having the fireplace here, it's such a nice touch that looks so incredibly classy in this room. And the fact that they've made it understated like this just says something about the philosophy behind the design here. They're not looking to grab your attention. They're not looking to force your head in any one direction. They're just adding in all the functional elements that make a space work well, but doing them in a beautiful and sophisticated way. And so even just looking at the living room on its own, you can be pretty certain that in this home, you're not going to be seeing a ton of bright colors. You're not going to be seeing materials that fight for your attention. This is a space that has exercised restraint, and that's one of the main reasons why it looks so good. Now, one thing they've given up in here is any sort of dedicated space for firewood. Generally you'd have like a slot in the wall next to the fireplace where you can store the wood and just throw a log on whenever you need to. They don't have that here, and so I'm assuming they're keeping it outside or maybe in a closet around the corner. It is going to be slightly inconvenient every time they need to top up the fire, so it's just something to keep in mind. If you're putting a fireplace into your new place, then don't forget to put in a place for firewood, or just recognize that you'll have to go get it every time you want to top up the fire. So right next to the living room is the dining room, and the dining room is actually wedged between the living room and the kitchen in a bit of a hallway space. Now, it would have been very easy for this space to go completely unused and just be the hallway between the living room and the kitchen, but I really like that they've put the dining room here, because keep in mind, this is a 3-story home, and so the footprint of the home is 120 square meters on each level. And so if you weren't going to put the dining room here, then you would have either had to take away space from the kitchen, take away space from the living room, or put it on another level entirely, which just doesn't make sense at all. Having the dining room, living room, and the kitchen all on the same level was really the right choice here, and this just made the most sense as to where to put it. And just like we saw in the living room, the palette here in the dining room is equally minimal. They've got this light wooden table with these equally light wooden chairs with deep green upholstered seats, and then hanging above the table, they've got these 3 cylindrical pendant lights that add some elegance to the room. And one thing that I didn't notice when we were talking about the living room is this separate conversation zone that's just a little removed from both the dining room and the living room. And it creates this special little moment in the corner here that, again, could have easily gone completely unused. And because the dining table is also set right next to the garden, it's getting tons of beautiful natural light that bounces off the floor, off the ceiling, all around this space to keep it really bright and airy during the day, but also give it a moodiness at night. But now let's move deeper into the home and take a look at the kitchen. And for me, the kitchen is where this home really starts to shine, because this is just so well put together. It's clean, the shadows are gorgeous coming in those floor to ceiling windows, and it just looks like the kind of space where you want to spend time. They've got loads of cabinetry here on the left side, which allows them to have this open shelf above the counter and sink area, which is not being used for day-to-day items, but instead it's just for display. The key is that because they were smart with building in so much storage, they earned the right to have this display unit in the kitchen. And so for anyone who's moving from the dining room to the kitchen or just spending time sitting on these stools here, this is such a beautiful frame. I love that they've got the overhang on the island here so that you can fit these stools underneath and someone can sit, have a quick meal, have a drink, whatever. And another interesting thing they did here on the island is include this brushed stainless steel panel, which is reflecting a ton of light, but doesn't actually look like metal. So again, really nice material choices in here that reinforce the Scandinavian minimalist vibe that they've nailed here. But in my view, this image gives us the best understanding of what's happening in the kitchen. You can see all the built-in units in the back, but you also get to understand how the kitchen interacts with the garden because it is literally right there. And so if you're looking for an indoor-outdoor space where you can cook and immediately bring the food outside, eat in the garden, you know, on those beautiful summer Parisian evenings, this is a perfect spot for you. And so when you're cooking in the kitchen, you're gonna get an amazing breeze running through this room. And I had this in a previous apartment of mine where just based on the position of the windows and where the kitchen was, I always got this incredible breeze coming through and it felt so good being in there, cooking in the summer, having the breeze come through and the smell of the food just fills the entire space. It's a really special experience. And so I love that they've got the kitchen right here. And even though this kitchen isn't particularly large, it feels so much larger than it is because you can just open this door up and all of a sudden you've got the garden on your doorstep and the room is twice as big as it was before. But let's just reflect for a second on how nice it must be to have this inner garden courtyard in a home like this in the middle of Paris. And I'm sure this courtyard gets used all the time. And by the way, I recently made another video about a home that has no exterior windows, but it does have an interior courtyard. It's a really interesting architectural design, so I'll link to that one up here. And in this home, just like in that one, the garden truly is the focal point of the home. Not only because all the rooms are oriented around it, and so wherever you are, you're always right next to the garden, but because it's infusing the home with nature and gives every room this warm, inviting feeling. Now, the one thing on the ground floor that I haven't talked about yet is the staircase. And this is a real work of architectural ingenuity. It connects all 3 floors in a single staircase. I mean, this is just gorgeous. The way that it softly curves as you move up or down means that the light hits every step in a slightly different way, which just adds some additional depth and mood to the space. And what I love is the way that they've arranged the staircases on each level. There's a gap all the way up through the center, and at the top of that gap is a skylight. So you have natural light pouring in from the top of the home that, depending on the time of day, can reach all the way to the ground floor 3 levels down. So it's a real architectural masterpiece, this staircase, and it also looks so good. So I want you to think about this. If you're building or remodeling your own home, how can you take something simple like a set of stairs and turn them into something spectacular? A lot of people would just overlook the stairs and hide them away or just not think about them at all. But when you pay attention to the details like this, it elevates your home so much. This shows me that the architects and designers who worked on this home didn't leave any stone unturned. They really paid attention to every single detail, and so far, everything that we've seen in the home, it shows. Now, they've actually got 4 bedrooms upstairs, but I just want to show you one of them because it tells you everything you need to know about what's going on in the bedrooms. And so, as soon as you walk in here, you notice that they're using the same material palette that they used on the ground floor. It's still really minimal. They're leaning very heavily into oak, and it's got the same Scandinavian minimalist feel that we had downstairs. But the other main idea they're taking from downstairs is all the built-in storage. Just like we saw in the kitchen, where they built everything in so that they could have that beautiful display shelf above the counter, here they've built everything in again, and so there's nothing out of place in this bedroom. It's super calm, it's super organized, but there's also more than enough space for all your stuff. So you rarely see this executed so well in a bedroom, where virtually every wall is storage, but they've just done it brilliantly in here. And so really, all you've got on display here is the bed, a couple of bedside lamps, and the window in front of it. Everything else is tucked away. In a home like this, of course, maybe it would be nice to have a lounge chair in the corner or something like that, but even if they don't, I really like it in here because the materials all match what we saw downstairs and throughout the rest of the room, and everything is so calming in here. I see it again and again where a designer will totally nail the color and material palette throughout the public areas of a home and keep everything cohesive and working really well together, but then when it comes to the bedroom, they put in a splash of color that just feels so out of place. So I'm really grateful that they didn't do that in here and that they stuck to their guns and continued with what we saw throughout the rest of the home. By the way, if you want to see another apartment that did exactly that, where they've got a really nice color palette throughout most of the home, but then they just throw it away in the bedroom, I'll link to that video up here. But now let's take a look at the bathroom. And again, they've got 4 bathrooms in this home, but I just want to focus on one because this one is a real stunner. And unsurprisingly, it's been designed with the same restraint and precision that we saw throughout the rest of the home. First, they're using a beautiful stone on the floor and vanity that has these horizontal lines that just stretch the space and make it feel a little bigger than it is. And on the left side of the vanity, they've got this low oak bench that's a great spot for taking a rest or arranging your clothes while you're in the shower. The frameless mirror really fits the modern aesthetic in here, and this is a small detail, but notice how the width of the mirror is the exact width of the skylight above. Again, it just shows how much attention to detail the designers were paying when they designed this space. And because they've got light coming in both from the skylight above and from this massive window on the left here, it feels really bright and airy in here, even though this isn't a particularly large bathroom on its own. Now, I love that they've tucked the shower into this corner here, which I'm guessing is on the other side of the stairs because they have that curved wall that would just match the stairs perfectly. But it also creates this little cocoon sort of environment where you're protected and safe in the shower when you're at your most vulnerable. So it's a small detail, but again, an important one. And then by including the plant in here, it just injects a bit more life into the room and balances out some of the harder surfaces of the stone on the floors and the sharp edges of the mirror. So what can we take away from this home? For me, the big lesson is the importance of sticking to a palette. And when I say palette, I mean both a color palette and a material palette. And they did this beautifully in this home and didn't even stray from it once, because what you see all throughout this home are natural, high quality materials in naturally occurring colors. And that's why we have a lot of wood and only a few splashes of muted natural colors like deep greens and earthy reds. That's the primary reason why this space feels so good to be in. And it's precisely because they haven't tried to grab your attention that this place holds your attention for so long. But a second thing they did extremely well here is they leaned into the garden being the focal point of the home. Again, they never shouted this at you, and they never even gave us direct photos of the garden itself, but by playing off it in every room, they made it clear that the garden is the star of this home and that everywhere else is a supporting element. So if you're living in an apartment or a townhouse like this one with a fixed footprint, think about what you could make the focal point of your home. Do you have an outdoor space that you can transform into something special? Do you have a view that you can frame in a unique way? Do you have an architectural element indoors that you can make the centerpiece of your home? Because keep in mind, when you're selling your place and people come to view it, they're gonna label your home like this, the one with the blank. And you wanna make sure that that blank is something special. So here, it might be the one with a garden, or they might also say the one with the beautiful staircase. But what would that label be for your home? It can't be the one with the leather couch or the one with 2 bathrooms. That's boring. It's gotta be a label that they can say out loud to their friends when they're talking through their decision and get excited about. So when you're ready to sell your place, make sure it has a label that sticks. I'm breaking down a ton of homes like this one, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. If you want to take what you've learned here to the next level, the link is in the description. And if you want to see a celebrity home with a bit of a similar palette to this one, but they really drop the ball in one of the most important areas of the home, check out this video up here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.